So it also.
All right. Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Finance Committee of the Kingston, New York Common Council. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:33. And we will start, as is our regular practice, with the comptroller's update. I understand we made twice as much money as we thought we would.
Something like that.
No.
Maybe if I said will into fruition.
Right, yes.
Let's see.
File for press.
Limited edition.
First edition too. See if you get it signed by the author. Go on eBay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll let that go along. Might have to buy it and watch it. All right, well, thank you. So we were just here 2 weeks ago, so there's really not a lot to update. Probably the most notable right now is if you look at the sales tax report, we received notification of the next two sales tax checks. We have not received them yet, but we received notification of the amount through the state system. The checks for March and April cumulatively are down from the prior year, so we're starting to see a slowdown with the sales tax coming in. As of right now, we're still almost 4% over the prior year. We were before March, we were at 7.5% of the prior year. So you're starting to see us kind of bring back towards the 2023 figures. We'll continue to keep an eye on it, but at this point, the budget is not a concern. What's more of a concern is just the slowdown of the potential of the economy and the sales tax in general. So as of this last check, we would be $256,000 over the prior year on a year-to-date basis. In terms of budget, we budgeted $19,325,000. Last year, we took in $19,573,000, so we're still over the prior year. I'll update you each month, but this is probably one of the more significant trends I've seen in the last couple of years with the sales tax, where it's kind of like stagnating or reversing. So I'll keep you posted.
So I'm guessing the costs are not trending back for 2023.
No, we're actually, our costs are very much in line with 23, which is good, in terms of where we're at with the budget. I will say this, in terms of the contingency, I've updated you the last several months on the contingency balance, letting you know that there's not a lot there. We're down to $26,000, so want to be very judicious now. We use contingency. We'll probably go fund out more contingency.
Is that standard for this time of year?
No, we're a little light. We started with a lower contingency balance than we normally do, so that's the main contributor of it.
Have we had more retirement contingency?
Yeah. Retirement to the extent that if the department doesn't have funds within their own budget that they can backfill, transfer those monies over to the retirement line, it'll come out of contingency. So we've seen that.
Thank you.
Well, and then I also passed out a copy of the cannabis sales tax revenue. I'll continue to provide this secondary sales tax sheet. We received another check that's very modest, so there's more just a tracking in case you're curious as to how much we're receiving. I'll continue to pass this out. It's too early in the process to trend it, right? We've had 2 checks, so but within a year or so, we'll be able to start trending it.
Is this a check from the Office of Cannabis Management?
This is a check from, I believe it's from Ulster County.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have, to double check where the check comes from. I can email it. But then, we have no detail on it. as to where like the origin within it, within the city where it originated from.
All right. Any questions? Questions or comments for John? All right, thank you, sir. And then next we will go to the first action item on our agenda, which is all of our grant applications. Dan, come and join us at the table.
Thank you for having us. I asked some of my coworkers to join us because we're all working together on grant applications, and specifically the people here tonight will be managing the projects that are funded.
Okay.
So I'll start out just describing each one individually, and then I'll ask my coworkers to weigh in if they would like to, or answer any questions that you have. Do you mind if I just go a little bit out of this order that I gave on the summary?
Following you, take us where you need to.
Okay, Julie, do you want to start with your projects? Because I know that you have an appointment to get to. So we're looking at first, number 6 on the summary, the Kingston Local Waterfront Revitalization and Comprehensive Plan Update. The comprehensive plan and the local waterfront plan both need to be updated now or in the near future. So it makes sense to try to do them both, and it qualifies under this grant program. Julie, do you want to describe it a little bit further?
Sure, just to say that our comp plan was completed back in 2016. It was dated Kingston 2025. We're intending that we would redo it around 2025, but we really gave the thought of it. That was done by Schuster and Turner. And our LWRP, our Local Waterfront Revitalization Program plan, dates back to 1992. So both of those are in need of being updated. We had an opportunity to work with PACE Land Use Law Center last year. And for about a year, a team of us worked on creating a resiliency report for the city of Kingston, which went through aligning with and evaluating our LWRP to see if there were anything we needed to update as far as resiliency, and there certainly were a lot of things. So this whole section in this work from the last year, which was funded by PACE, will actually help inform that process of updating our local waterfront revitalization plan. And we figured we would use this Department of State grant to apply for a combination update to both of those. Just as a reference, when we updated our comp plan back in 2016, of which the process actually started in 2011, it was a very long process. We paid Schuster and Turner $100,000 for that comprehensive plan update. This time, we're actually asking to increase that amount. Obviously, that was 13 years ago, and this is now a combined effort. So the grant application ask would be for $255,000 with a match of $45,000 by the city. The grant is due on July 30th.
That's number 6.
That's number 6, so we're requesting the resolution authorizing us to submit the application for the mayor to sign any related documents. Does anyone have questions for Julie?
Hold on a second. Trying to find the actual.
Did you receive a numbered set? I have a number if you want to use mine.
Oh, that's, I see, there's 2 numbers.
Yeah, a handwritten number in the top
Yes.
right.
Okay. There we go.
I will also just add that this is very timely for us since our zoning code was also just updated. And so to be able to align our updated comprehensive plan with the new zoning and our local revitalization program with the new zoning is very important for us as the zoning was just updated. And it's also possible and likely, if we are permitted to do so, that this LWRP would also expand to include the Rondout Creek, because the first plan only included to include the Esopus Creeks, because the first plan just included the Rondout.
What was the name of the consultants again? Pace Land Use?
It was Pace University.
Land use law center.
And if we were to get this grant, we would be locked in with that, with Pace University?
No, we would go out to bid, just like we did for the first comp plan, and we would put out a request for proposals.
All right, the description reads, this is a request for authorization to apply for and execute an agreement and any and all related documents related to a grant from the New York State Department of Local Waterfront Revitalization Program in the amount of $205,000 for Kingston Local Waterfront Revitalization and Comprehensive Plan Update. The match requirement of 50% in the amount of $45,000 will be provided by in-kind, forced count funds, donations, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. Hence, the estimated financial impact is to be determined. We have a motion to discuss.
Second,
Amy Chavez, second by Michael Tierney. Is there any discussion?
do you think their acronym SLIP was on purpose?
So that
Nothing.
would say people.
Nothing slips by these state officials. All right.
We ready for the next one?
Hold on.
We haven't voted.
Sorry.
Yeah, democratic process in action. All right, hearing no substantive discussion, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, next one. What number?
Number 8, this is also Julie, excuse me. This one is not part of the annual CFA. It's due July 12th, and it's a new program through the Dormitory Authority of New York State, and in conjunction with the Office of Tax Recreation and Historic Preservation. We're also requesting an authorization to apply and execute documents. Julie, you want to describe it?
Sure. So this is a new program. It's very new. It was just launched by the state. They actually put out a survey a few months ago that we can inquire to communities what kind of funding they may need for things to improve pools and swimming access on the in their communities. The governor has really prioritized swimming and access for folks to those services. And so we feel like our chances are actually pretty high for this, although we don't think it'll actually be that competitive. So either way, we are looking at doing a combined effort for this grant. One of them would be to satisfy a few different things that we are lacking at the pool. Although we did just make a very significant investment in the pool, this would be to complement that investment. So making upgrades, necessary ADA upgrades to the existing pool lift. We have a lift, but it is insufficient. The addition of ADA compliant stairs, and the addition of a shade structure and some new splash pad features. We had to, we were budget limited in our last round on that, but also increasing the splash pad pump capacity. There was some miscalculation by our consultants on the capacity that was necessary for the pump. So our splash pad is operating in a subpar way, and we would like to increase the capacity of that pump. So that would be a portion of this grant, a fraction really of it compared to the larger portion, which would be going to the final engineering design bid-ready construction documents and construction of a resilient Kingston Point Beach. So several years ago, actually over the course of the last 10 years, we've been working with the state and also with Cornell University to look at how we can protect Kingston Point Beach. Kingston Point Beach is one of only 4 official swimming beaches by Department of Health on the entire Hudson River, of 315 miles long. And we have that as a gem of our community, but it is washing away and eroding away all the time. And so we worked with a firm last year, we got a grant with Supermass Studio and partners, and they designed a terraced beach design to conceptual design level, where the active swimming area would be at the lower terrace, and as sea levels rise and erosion continues and additional storm surge and other storms take away the beach, that first level would eventually be underwater, and then you would actively be swimming on the second 1 foot up level of the second part of the beach, and so on into perpetuity. It would also raise up and create a berm and an elevated walkway to get over to the parking lot. It would modify the boat launch to comply with that same design, and it would add a pier out onto the water. We have conceptual level design that was done by Supermass Studio partners, and they projected that to be, and this was 2020, so 4 years ago, they projected it to be a $4 million project. And so we added some contingency to that, and also the addition of an actual water bathroom at that location. Right now, we have a composting toilet, which is disconnected from all utilities. We are interested in running sewer to that site and water, and putting in an actual bathroom at that site as well. So all of that told, we are requesting $5.2 million from the Dormitory Authority of New York State with a match of $1.3 million. And we will submit the work that's been done to date by Supermass Studios, Cornell University, Department of Environmental Conservation, Department of State, and all this other work as they would take that project and move it forward. We would go out to bid for design, and then we would go out to bid for construction.
Excuse me, Jack is also working a little bit on this project too. Did you want to add anything to that, Jack?
No, I think she covered my wish list for up at the pool. Very well, thank you.
Does anyone have questions?
Questions? Comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a comment. So I know I use this term a lot, but the beach is one of our gems here. I can't, the percentage of cities in this whole country that have their own beach is very tiny. We're lucky to have this. This will be some really nice, very cool upgrades. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be very nice.
Anything else? All right, then I'll call for a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second. You should, second by Michael Tierney. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Oh, let me read it. Description, request authorization for the mayor to submit an application to the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for a grant amount of $5,020,000 for the Kingston Swimming Facilities Upgrades Project, and to execute any and all related documents. This grant requires a matching amount of $1,300,000 to be provided by in-kind donations, force account, another grant, private contributions, and if necessary, local bond. Hence, the estimated financial impact is to be determined. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we could go back to number 1. I did think that the mayor would be here, and he's been kind of spearheading the task force about the parking study.
Okay,
But I can speak a little bit about it directly myself.
I'm also a liaison for that too,
okay.
so I don't know anything to add, but just so you know.
Okay, I'll be writing the grant application. It's I think a pretty straightforward study that we're going for to assess all of the parking that exists in the city and what the potential parking options are for the future. And we'll come up with an analysis of the needs and, you know, where we can take it forward in the future. So this is really at the study stage, and this grant does qualify under this source. And I think we have a pretty strong chance of winning an award for it. The total project cost is estimated to be about $200,000, and we're applying for $100,000 because there's a 50% match. And I think that's about it.
I could add a little bit to it.
Okay.
So this actually stems from, as two of you know, from the council last year through the zoning effort that we wanted to have a more robust study of the parking because it came up after every meeting that we had about the zoning. So we've been meeting, I think, since the beginning of the year, once a month to come look at whatever other municipalities are doing that are similar size or similarly situated, but taking a lot of our concerns from that meeting that we had last summer before we passed the zoning code. So a lot of what the council's concerns were back then are at the forefront of their decision making, trying to build this RFP so that we could have this study. And one thing specifically is that we wanted to have action plans in this study when they do it. So it's not just a study and file it, and we then have like this, these are the steps that you could do. So, and it should be wrapped up fairly soon. I think we have 1 or 2 meetings to go, and I think we could have it ready to go.
Okay. If we do win the award, we won't really know about it probably until December, so we couldn't move on doing an RFP with consultants until we're in contract for the grant. So
Yeah, so it may sit in the file for a little bit just because of timing, but there's, you know,
it would be worth it.
the task force has been working hard, and we don't want to prolong that, so it may collect a little bit of dust, but it'll be worth it if we could get the grant
Yeah.
for the work.
So we're requesting authorization again to apply and execute documents.
Questions?
Any further questions?
No, I really can't wait to see the study, especially the action part. As we all know, there's parts of the city that just were not built with parking in mind before cars were even here, so what they're gonna come up with, they're gonna be pretty ingenious with their action plan, but it'll be fun to look at and hopefully enlighten.
All right, do we have a motion to discuss?
So.
Motion by Michael Tierney, second by Steve Shabbat. Is there any discussion? Well, let me read this. This is a request for authorization to apply and execute an agreement and any and all related documents for a grant from the New York State and Fire State Development Strategic Planning and Feasibility Study Program in the amount of $100,000 for the citywide parking study project. Match requirement of 50% in the amount of $100,000 will be provided by in-kind donations, force account funds, private contributions, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. Total project cost is $200,000, but because this is a grant request, financial impact is to be determined. All right. Then I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Our next one is the Roanoke Lighthouse Foundation Engineering, Planning, and Design project. This project is something we're working on with the Maritime Museum. Sue has been spearheading most of the work for the lighthouse in general. The funding will support engineering, design, and production of bid-ready construction documents so that we can reinforce the foundation, which is really at risk of collapsing. Sue, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm sure most of you are aware Hurricane Sandy, gave the Roanoke Lighthouse, the Roanoke 2 a good hit. We are still working on getting electric back to the lighthouse. Hopefully that's gonna be completed in 2025. But with working, on that, the engineering firm Weston and Sampson has been out there. on multiple occasions. The plinth and the concrete base is in desperate need of some work and some upgrades. It's well over 100 years old. If you have seen it, you'll notice it's easily recognizable. The steel sheeting that surrounds the plinth is separating out from the base itself, which is allowing, with water and ice out there, it's allowing that freeze-thaw cycle to make additional damage. There is some of the railings around the perimeter of the lighthouse walkway are pulling loose. There's cracking. So we really need to do a full engineering design and get some construction documents together so we can get that corrected out there and be able to retain it. It is on the National Register. The Maritime Museum does a great job managing it on behalf of the city of Kingston, doing tours. There's a lot of visitors that go out there during on a seasonal basis. So we really, we want to protect and preserve that maritime asset. It is a working Coast Guard light. So that is another feature that, of it. It's one of 7 lighthouses left on the Hudson. And I don't know, just to give them a plug, the Maritime Museum has a wonderful documentary that's going to be showing in New Paltz coming up at the end of June. And the Ronda will be one of the lighthouses featured in that, so.
That's great. Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Sue?
Hearing no questions, then I'll call for a motion to discuss. Motion. Second, Steve Shabbat, second by Tierney. Is there any discussion of this request? It says, this is a request for authorization to apply for and execute an agreement and any and all related documents related to a grant from the New York State Office of Park Recreation and Historic Preservation Program in the amount of $150,000 for the Ronda Lighthouse Engineering Planning and Design Project. Match requirement of 25% in the amount of $50,000 will be provided by in-kind Forest County funds, donations, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. Estimated financial impact is to be determined. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
I do have a comment. How nice that all these projects are in my ward.
That's fortuitous, don't ask for any favor.
Yeah, so now that you've made that clear, I'm voting against the next level.
Yeah, maybe I should have kept that one.
Yes, the next one is. No, I think.
Okay, have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Phil.
Like to-
Yes, the next one is also,
Oh, my God.
we have applied for this before and haven't been successful, but we did a debrief with the agency and we think we can approve it and fall into an award. So it's the Kingston Neighborhood Skate Park, another CFA application that's due on July 31st. Previously, Jack and Natalie have been working on the application and they know the details best. Jack is working on getting quotes that we need to include for this year's proposal, and updated quotes, that is. The request is for a resolution to apply for and execute the documents. The total grant project costs we're estimating to be increased from previous applications, and we are committed to ask for a larger amount of money. So the grant request will be for $675. It's the skate, would you like to describe what the skate park will look like?
Yeah, the Kingston Skate Park concept has been around for many years. There's been focus groups that have come to the city and asked for it. We've looked at the several different skate parks in our neighboring communities. They have started to come back into popularity. So we have looked at 2 different types of skate parks that could be put in place of the old tennis courts down at Hasbrook Park. It would utilize that piece of macadam that hasn't been functioning for years. And it would be an in-ground concrete skate park type structure, which would also allow for bicycle stunts as well as inline skate stunts, besides the skateboards. So I think it's a great usage for that little piece of postage stamp down there at Hasbrook Park. And it's accessible walking wise from the green trail, which would be another great opportunity to utilize that linear park.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I mean, it's nice to see that the old tennis court be put to use. Tennis courts haven't been there, I can't even remember when it was. They used to attract great crowds, it was kind of sad when that went away, but I think this would be a pretty cool usage.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. A lot of people I know have been asking for this for a long time, and I think it'll attract a lot of people to Kingston as well.
I just had a Kingston land use law at Albany. My professor was on a tangent on how local government, he's not a big fan of local governments or officials of local governments. He was on a tangent that governments tend to not just do things without knowing if the public wants it. But this one, we know that the public wants it for years, so it's really cool. So hopefully we'll be able to win it.
It is definitely in response to
Many years in the
engagement
past,
with the
yeah.
community and listening to what people would like to see. So we're excited to apply again, even though we've tried before. I think we have a good shot at it this time.
Trying to be the first one down.
We'll reserve it for you. Any other questions? Okay.
Does that professor think that the idea of building a fire tower in Academy Green is one of those projects?
I'll ask him tomorrow.
You ask him, if he says so. I will be on the line, I'm sorry. But I thought it
Is December kind of the deadline for all of these grants that we would know, or does it vary? It varies.
In the past, we've learned in December, one or two have pushed into January. So based on history, we're estimating that that's will be the case again. I think the governor likes to make the announcements at the end of the year. So not all of them, it's just the CFA group, which are numbers 1 through 6 that are all due July 31st. And then there are 2 others. And Nadine's with CPW is also CFA, but we're not the applicant. CPW is the applicant for that one. The other 2, we don't know what the award announcements dates will be yet. So I think we're ready to go.
All right, so this one reads, this is a request for authorization to apply for and execute an agreement and any and all related documents related to a grant from New York State Office of Park Recreation and Historic Preservation Park Program in the amount of $675,000. The Kingston Neighborhood Skate Park Project, the match required is 25%, the amount of $225,000, which will be provided by in-kind donations, force account funds, private contributions, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. Total project cost of $900,000. Estimated financial impact is to be determined. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Michael Tierney, seconded by Steve Shabbat. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Our next one is a project that Emily will be managing. And it's her concept also. Natalie will be working with Emily on producing the application, and she couldn't be here tonight, so I just wanted to let you know that she's very much involved in all of these applications, actually. So it's the Rondout Gardens Community Park, and this will be the expansion of a public space that currently includes the Rondout Garden. But there is additional available space that's not being used. So Emily has conceived of the idea of creating a larger park area. I'm going to take it from there.
I don't want to take all the credit or blame. It is identified in the Parks and Rec Master Plan and the, in other multiple plans that more park space be sort of developed and created, so it's not coming out of anywhere, nowhere. And also, as you all know, I coordinate the Live Well Kingston Health Commission, of which has 6 subcommittees. One is Grow Well, which helps support our community gardens. So we've heard from the community there that they would like to see improvements. So it's not just my team, just to be clear. So the idea would be to improve the garden space there, the basketball courts and the spaces in between. You are familiar, there's a bit of a driveway in between. What I think really makes this grant, or makes this space appropriate is the grant specifically calls for improvements along rail trails and specifically the Empire State Trail, of which this is. So you almost couldn't get a better project for the way that the grant is written, in my opinion. So I'm very excited about that. There's a few key, it would be a landscape engineering and construction plan. So this would just be the planning process. We wouldn't be going into construction yet. We would put out a request for proposals as we have for Post Office Park, for example, and we'd go through a full design process. But a key component that's been identified would be ADA accessibility in the garden. So we currently don't have an opportunity for people of all abilities to garden in the city of Kingston. So we would really like to provide that down there. What shall I say about it? It might include signage, some materials there for people to know that it's there, other parts of the trail.
And an analysis of what the additional space could be used for, such as a possible basketball court.
So that we have the basketball courts would probably be improvements upon that. We know the Kingston Land Trust has talked about trying to do an edible forest at different times around that area, so we would incorporate that. A really large component would be public outreach and asking what people would like in that space. I also think it's really important that we come up with a sustainable plan for interacting with the community ongoing in that space, meaning the neighborhood feels ownership of that garden in that space. So I would ask the consultants to come up with suggestions for us for how to make that sustainable.
Can I ask a related question? Because before you mentioned that, I wrote that down. I was going to ask the people who live in the community. I mean, that they should be the ones who are the primary stakeholders in designing it. So it sounds like that is the intention.
Absolutely. I feel like we've had really good track record. Post Office Park, the landscape designers that ran it did a robust public outreach, including setting up on the site with food to get people to get their feedback. I would expect, if nothing less than that, but better, I would like to do, events on site, polling in that community. I would expect a lot of public outreach in this study process.
And how, I mean, I'm very familiar with that area, walk on that trail all the time, but how big are you going to be expanding if that's, I'm not good with figuring out sizes. So is it, you're just expanding between the basketball and the community garden?
Yeah, it's not actually too much bigger than the current footprint. That triangle of land is owned by the city of Kingston. I believe the rail trail is also owned by the city of Kingston. I'm not sure, I think the parking lot, I'm not sure where the housing authority and the city, where that line is, but what I'm talking about is on that side of the rail trails and the street. So it's that triangle of the garden, the driveway, the basketball course, and there's a little bit of a hill on the housing authority side of the basketball course that could be developed. So it's not much larger.
But it would include improvements to the existing court.
And like a cohesiveness,
Try to link it all together so it feels like a public space.
And maybe even a name for it. I don't, we reference the garden, it's the Rondat Gardens, it's the Rondat Garden Housing Authority. The garden steward calls it the Rainbow Dream Snake Garden. So maybe some naming as well.
Okay. Any more questions for Emily?
Is this another board meeting?
So our request is for authorization for the mayor to submit the application and to execute the contracting related documents.
All right, the description here is, this is a request for authorization to apply for and execute an agreement needing all related documents related to the grant from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Heritage Area Program in the amount of $75,000 for the Rondell Gardens Community Park Plan Project. Match requirement of 25%, the amount of $25,000 will be provided by any kind donations, force account funds, private contributions, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. The total project cost $100,000. Estimated financial impact will be determined later. We have a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second.
Steve Shabbat, seconded by Mike Tierney. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. We're on a roll. Dan.
Great, thank you. Our next project is also under Emily. It's the citywide sidewalk improvement plan. Emily, why don't you start with the description and we'll go from there.
Sure. Where do I start? We would like to create a plan for improving our sidewalks. As you all know, the sidewalks, it's the responsibility of the property owner to improve those sidewalks. And this, our pedestrian and bicycle master plan, reports that it is not a complete system, as we probably all know. They are not ADA accessible in many places, so there is, I think, a need to improve them. The hard part here is to figure out how and how to fund it. And the Complete Streets Advisory Council has created this white paper that I believe has been sent to the Common Council for consideration.
That'll be on public safety. It's not.
Oh, thank you, awesome. So what we're proposing is, well, the Complete Streets Advisory Council would like the city to create a plan. With the grant application, we're proposing that we might pay for it that way, if we receive the grant. So, it would build upon this white paper that they've created. And it's also would build upon the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. So it's sort of a next in a series of planning documents for improving walking and biking in the city of Kingston. This white paper sort of recommends a few different options for how to finance sidewalk improvements. The biggest one of which would be a sidewalk improvement district. Which I'm gonna bring up the Julie's project, the
comprehensive plan.
No, the community preservation plan, which had to go through a referendum process. If the city decided to go through that option for improving their sidewalks, it would have to be a similar process. So this plan would help spell out all those details so that you as the common council and voting members could know what that means. Because right now it's sort of conceptual. It's looking, there's examples that the Complete Streets Advisory Council looked at. For example, Ithaca has a sidewalk improvement district. And like the community preservation plan, it can set a certain percentage amount of taxes that can be allocated for improvement. None of those details have been decided yet, and we would use this plan to help conceive of what that could be. I don't know if I'm going too deep into it. Am I explaining that?
Well,
It's complex.
yeah, because if it's going out to referendum, I mean, would the goal be for this year?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say that is.
No. So, I mean,
It would, yeah, that would be.
no, this timeline is pretty far in the distance, so if we didn't even hear about the grant until December, we put out a request for proposals for a planning project. So the planning project process itself would take a year. Then it would go up to the referendum. So we're looking at 2 or 3 years away that it might go to.
And the grant money doesn't turn into a pumpkin, so if we get the grant money and then it's not gonna be on the referendum until the following November, that's not gonna be problematic. If that's the plan that the public decides to do, that makes.
So this grant money would just be for the plan. So this project would end, let's say, a year from December. So it would not go just like the community preservation plan, we would have to have partners that push that referendum forward. Myself as a city staff member, I could not lobby for it. So this grant would just fund the plan for sidewalk improvement. Sort of like the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. We would have a document at the end of the project. And then if the city decided to go forward with a sidewalk improvement district, that would be many more discussions down the road after we sort of have an example.
Yeah, so this will provide an analysis and
Yes.
recommendations for improvements.
And taking the sidewalk district part, which is the most confusing part of it, aside, I think that there is value in doing a sidewalk improvement plan anyway, because of how challenging our current sidewalks are. It is sort of like another chapter to the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. It would assess each sidewalk segment and prioritize it. So even if we funded it in a very different way, we would have the next steps for how to improve our sidewalks. If the city decided to not do a district and say, enforce the code and have each property owner improve their sidewalk, we would have a prioritization of which properties should be asked. Does that make sense?
So will this study go property by property? Like, will every inch of city sidewalk be examined?
At least
Or is it gonna be like a
parcel.
snapshot? Oh, every parcel, okay.
It's just like the community preservation plan would be on the parcel level. So
Okay.
currently, our sidewalk assessment is by the block.
Mhm.
And we do have that data already, and we do have curb ramps also, by the way, but we don't have by the parcel.
And so, that's awesome. So this says, will include a study of the bluestone used in both historic and non-historic districts. Will the study make recommendations about what should be replaced with concrete or what should be kept?
I think well, we already have code that I believe says that in historic districts there has to be kept, so this might propose a difference to that, but I probably not. I believe that there may have already been a bit of a bluestone study, so this would build upon that as it relates to improving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's a little, probably way early in the process to be thinking of too many specifics, but one of my concerns, I'm sure others too, the sidewalks are so raised from old trees, the roots in front of my house. I mean, there's spots that have to be 6 inches out of line. They were done, I hesitate to say incorrectly, but incorrectly back in the 80s. They killed a lot of trees coming through and buzzing off the roots, and the trees died, which just caused another problem. But there's still a lot of areas that's really unsafe. You see, people take headers, people can't walk their kids on the sidewalks. They're so bumpy, so I don't know if that's gonna be a thing in this plan.
Yeah, it'll, so it'll be, I think it'll focus more on funding of the improving of it, but not the specifications of how to improve the sidewalk. I believe our code actually already specifies what materials can be used for improvement. And I don't know if we have policies to say how to cut the trees around it, but that might be a little bit different.
But we
So
have,
this was
we have
like
policy
1/4
on
inch.
whether people can cut the trees down and whatnot, so.
And those consultants will collect all those policies and probably report on that in it. That makes sense.
Also, we did win a grant to hire a urban forester who will be looking at the existing tree inventory and developing or actually overseeing how some of that maintenance is done to protect the trees. So we're getting ready to hire someone soon for that position. So that'll be integrated in.
My professor was very happy about that grant, so he doesn't take everything that we do. I need to throw something in there to keep my GPA up. I do have a legal question on this, but I'll ask Barbara, and I know she's listening, but it's not necessary, and I may or may not come back if it's a concern, but I think it's like a ways away anyway.
So you're not gonna read it.
Right now, no, because it would be attorney-client session.
All right,
So I probably need be something.
sorry.
Okay. So our request is to allow the mayor to submit the application and execute documents. For a resolution authorizing them to do so.
All right, the description here reads, this is a request for authorization to apply for and execute an agreement and agreeing all related documents related to a grant from New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Climate Smart Communities Program in the amount of $135,000 for the citywide sidewalk study project. Match requirement of 50% in the amount of $135,000 will be provided by in-kind donations, force account funds, private contributions, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. The total project cost is $250,000 with the estimated financial impact to be determined. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Shadows, Tierney, is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So that concludes the city's group of CFA applications. And the last CFA is Nadine's Nadine Lemon is from the Center for Photography of Woodstock. And they are requesting an endorsing resolution to support their application for a grant from the Main Street program to build out their third floor of their building on Beaver Street. Would you like to?
Sure. First, as a member of the public, I just would like to say how exciting it is to hear all these wonderful grants for the quality of life in Kingston, so that's very helpful. And the Center for Photography came before the city last year and got a wonderful Restore New York grant through the city, so we're very excited about that. We're going to start construction for that hopefully this September. And then as a second add-on to that project, the first phase this fall will be the first floor and the second floor of our building at 25 Diedrich Street. And the grant application we'd like to apply for this summer would help us build out the third floor, which is an 8,000 square feet. We need to get secondary access up there and we need to get bathrooms up there. And if we can get those two things, then we can put in artist studios and we can put in art storage. And basically, it becomes a good revenue stream for the Center for Photography. So this is an application that would have no impact on city finances, no money in from the city, but hopefully it will help build upon all the quality of life issues that you're already addressing.
Any questions? All right, the description here is, this is a request for a resolution endorsing Center for Photography of Woodstock Incorporated CPW application to the New York Research Program, which is administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal under the direction of the Housing Trust Fund for a grant to support renovations of the CBW's 25 Diedrich Street building in Midtown Kingston. The project will include renovations to the third floor for future use as artist maker studios and artwork storage. Estimated financial impact is $0. This is basically just a kind of support, so it's not putting the city on the hook for any money. Motion to discuss.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mike Tierney, second by Steve Shattuck. Any discussion? Other than y'all need to change your name.
I am, waiting for that big donor who wants to put their name on the bill. We're looking for
Well, all the money that's coming into your ward, Steve.
I'm thinking about it heavily.
Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on our last one, number 9. And this is not a CFA application, it is a New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation request for a grant through the Green Resiliency Grant Program. This is due in August, mid-August. And we have determined that our safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall project is a good fit for this opportunity. And John Schultes is on the line. He's working on that project and he can describe a little more detail. John, do you want to take over?
Yeah, thanks, Ruth Ann. Good evening, everyone. So this project is a complete streets project on Flatbush and Foxhall Avenue. The limits on Foxhall would be from Broadway to Flatbush, and the limits on Flatbush would be from Foxhall to Colonial Gardens entrance. So what this request for tonight is to allow us to apply for a grant. This is under the Green Resiliency. It is a new name, but the program is similar to two previous grants we've done through the EFC under the GIGP, which was Green Innovation Grant Program. So this application, we've identified $4.8 million worth of improvements, most of which we're going to be doing anyway as part of the Flatbush project. So this grant helps us close a funding gap, while also got the environmental benefits of capturing stormwater and reducing pollution, improving water quality. So that's the goal of this particular grant application, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions for John? Seems like you got it covered, John. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John.
The description reads, this is a request for authorization to apply to the New York State Environment Facilities Corporation Green Resiliency Grant Program for a grant in the amount of $4,325,400 for the Safe and Accessible Flatbush and Foxhall project. The grant will fund green infrastructure components of the project, which will reduce stormwater runoff. Match requirement of 10% in the amount of in the amount of $480,600 will be provided by in-kind force account funds, donations, and if necessary, bonding to be requested. Estimated financial impact is to be determined. Do we have a motion to discuss?
So
Moved by Michael Tierney, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks for all that work y'all do down there in the deep dark bowels of City Hall.
Well, you're here with us. I did, just for your information, include our annual schedule for 2024. So if you have any questions about that, I can answer those too. If you had a chance to look it over.
Good to me. Anybody else, questions or comments? Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good evening.
Good, y'all.
Right.
All right, we are moving on to the paving funds that Mayor Noble is requesting. Is anybody here to speak about the need for paving on Broadway? Broadway.
I just updated the video report to that picture and it's too close to you, Steve.
no, get right in here.
Thank you, John, over here.
Well, they're doing something on our
I
board.
just want to be able to. So I guess I'm here on behalf of the mayor asking for some money for paving. What this is we had several discussions on the quality of Broadway, basically from Foxhall Avenue to just shy of Ward 8. And actually to McAtee Street, which may be close to you. I think it's before.
Right next door. Close enough.
Yep, so, problem is, we're looking at the potential of a project, either a streetscape or a safer school type situation. My CHIPS funding, the city's CHIPS funding, won't cover a lot of this, and I would like to actually retain that funding for when we do have a project, that we can actually put that money towards the project. Kind of get the paving out of the way, and some of the
stormwater issues.
Why would the chips cover this?
Well, because it's not gonna be part of this is it's not within the 10-year lifespan that we've already paved different areas. So this is a situation much like Albany Avenue, where we're just doing basically a quick mill, profile the road, do an 1.5-inch overlay, curb to curb, to straighten out Broadway, get it more manageable, smoother. We'll also be adjusting the irons, changing handles when needed to straighten it out. So this 200,000 is basically going to be what it takes to get that done, and then whatever is left over, we have a couple other areas to.
So that would leave a section from Foxhall heading northwest to the, basically to
City Hall.
Prince Street and so forth.
Yeah.
That wasn't covered under the Broadway Street.
So a part of this was done in 2014.
Okay.
From, I think from Andrew Street to Foxhall, when the hospital was doing their thing.
Okay.
Then another parcel out here, that the farthest I look back or have access to is 2010 for Broadway.
Okay.
So that is eligible for CHIPS, but I don't want to spend that CHIPS funding, until we can actually dedicate it to something that's going to make a difference. We also have to look at some of the blocks going up to Prince Street. So possibly from East O'Reilly to Prince.
Okay, questions? Any questions?
This will be done in-house.
Well, we will be partially in-house, partially outside contractor.
And Steve said this in his communication, that this will be done this summer.
Yeah, what we want to do is mobilize, get things ready, so that when school is out, we won't be interfering with the high school. Try to get it wrapped, so it'll be voted on first week of July. That should, if it passes, give us the time to prep during July, and then hopefully either pave the last week of July, first week of August before class gets back.
Okay.
And just a heads up on that, the transfer is written, so the money is going into the DPW budget, not into the capital fund, so it would be right into your streets account.
Okay.
There's a particular account where you'll see a resolution, so.
Okay.
What is our CHIPS award this year?
We got 3.1 now. A lot of that's accounted for already due to the 88 projects around. It's helping other projects. It's, covering some shortfalls from other things that are happening around the city. A lot of that allocated.
Anything else? Sounds pretty cool to me. All right. Be nice to smooth it out. The description of the committee report reads, I am requesting the common council, the I there being the mayor. I am requesting the common council amend the budget to allocate $200,000 from our fund balance to allow the city to improve paving conditions on Broadway from Foxhall Avenue to Delaware Avenue. It's coming from due fund balance and going into the DPW budget. And so the estimated financial impact would be $200,000. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Second?
Shabbat, second by Mike Tierney. And this is good because we do need to spend down our fund balance to some extent. So this is a very valid use of that money. Do we need to add 2024 to describe?
We can, sure. At this point, we're only amending the 24 budget, but it doesn't hurt to put that in there.
All right, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna hang out with this.
Hang away.
I mean, you think I won't cook.
I'm really doing that tonight anyways. Everything's the same.
All right, the last item is additional funds to the clerk's office. But I do not have a committee report for that. So are we really doing that?
Or like, you still know, you want to know?
That's fine, if there's
You
anything.
know the numbers better than me.
All right, so the letter accompanying it reads, please accept this communication to add additional funds to city clerk office supplies. That's the budget line. We are requesting $2,500 from fund balance for this occurrence. This is to cover the purchasing of 2 minute books and inserts. Or is that 2 minute books?
Minute books.
What I was gonna say, it's minute books. That's a lot of money for
Minutia.
book. Furthermore, we are requesting additional funds to judgment and claims, general contract expenses. We are requesting $75,000 from fund balance for this occurrence. As of today's date, this account is currently $30,828.55 in the negative. This transfer would balance this account, provide further funds for future expenses. At this point of the year, there is potential that we would have to ask for another transfer at a later date. All right, so are you clear?
Melissa is there, any questions?
I'm here.
Lisa,
So the financial impact total would be $77,500 coming from fund balance.
can I ask what this is for? Does this have to, do we have to go into executive session?
Which one?
The judgment?
It's not specific judgment, it's in general.
What does that mean?
We get
So
lots
there,
of things. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that just exactly what Rennie started to say, and I interrupted. I apologize. We have a lot of claims, and this is unfortunately one budget line that can never really be predicted. Sometimes a claim or a lawsuit will take years and years to settle, and sometimes they all settle at one time, which seems to be happening. A bunch are coming in, and it's really non-negotiable. This is from the court. This is what the decision was made that we have to pay. So that's what that portion is. The minute books are the very large leather bound books that we keep in our vault, and they are ridiculously expensive. So we don't have any right now. We have run out of new books.
Are they like vellum paper and that sort of thing? Make sure they last long?
Yeah, certainly hope so. But they are maintained in the vault, so
And like on the insurance claims, that's our deductible,
Oh, okay.
right? So that's after whatever the insurance pays out, that's our piece.
And whenever the city settles, it's you, Elisa, who's charged with dispersing that. That's why it comes through you.
Yeah.
yes.
That's her budget.
All right, so the description reads 2024 budgetary transfer as follows. From fund balance, $77,500, to office supplies, $2,500, to judgment claims, $25,000, estimated financial impact, $77,500. Motion discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Tierney, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. This particular committee report has lots of wrong names on it.
Thank you.
Cross out and put your name in there. Any one of the people who's not here. Thank you, Alyssa. So I believe that does it for the evening. We will call this meeting of the Finance Committee adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Have a good night.
Good night.